How you doing?
I'm all good. It's a bit hot here.
It is hot here too. It's a little bit. The weather is getting hotter all the time. Yes.
That's summer, I guess, isn't it? Ah, just close my window, make it a bit hotter.
Yeah. Exactly. It's good to have a flow of air. As we're going to be talking about different subjects today, like Ricky Gervais, Bruce Dickinson, the band Tank, Billy Sheehan, working for Billy Sheehan, and things like that. And a movie that you were able to help make
Yeah,
possible.
let's do that. Where do you want to start?
So let's say, where were you born, Chris?
I was born in London. I grew up in a little village in Wales, and I now live in London again. It's kind of
Hmm.
where the music industry is in the UK.
Yeah, most of the work that you did with the music industry was when you moved to London. Is that right?
All of it. I mean, there's very little music industry in my village in Wales, to be honest.
So you had to move to London, right? So the
Yeah.
people that are watching this, so they understand who is Chris Dale. Chris Dale, just so if they're coming in right now and they're watching it on Comcast or YouTube, Chris Dale is the legendary bass player. I say legendary because he's worked with some really big name people, and that's why people should know exactly who Chris Dale is. He played bass for Bruce Dickinson, right? In Skunkworks when he
True.
left Iron Maiden, right? You played
Yeah.
in a band called Skunkworks, which was like an alternative grunge band with Bruce Dickinson, maybe.
If you want to call it a grunge band, go ahead. I wouldn't do that, but you feel free.
What would you call it?
It was a rock band. We were writing songs. I think from a musician's point of view, maybe from a fan's point of view, and definitely from a journalist's point of view, it's handy to call things grunge or thrash or little pigeonhole names. But when you're a musician, you're just, I mean, you know this yourself, you're just writing a song, aren't
I
you?
was doing grunge at the same time. The same year that you did Skunkworks, I was doing grunge albums as well. You know, it was like the zeitgeist.
But that's it. Were you particularly doing a grunge album? Did you sit down and say, I want to sound like Alice in Chains?
No, we sounded like them because that's what was going on at the time, and that was the zeitgeist, I would say.
Right, okay. Oh, maybe you did. We didn't approach it that way, no.
I mean, it's not because we were trying to. I mean, the thing is, our singer was heavily influenced by Jim Morrison, Kurt Cobain and Eddie
Right,
Vedder. You know, all
right.
these, and so like at the same time that Skunkworks was going on, Spitting Images was a band that we were doing grunge music basically, and that's what I would call it now,
Right, okay.
or alternative.
Well, that's probably a more accurate title because I think what Bruce Dickinson's aim was with that album was to do something that was alternative to what he'd done before, because he was very known for that, obviously the Iron Maiden thing. And Iron Maiden have got a very particular sound to them. They're quite unique sounding band, I think. And he wanted to avoid all those obvious things that he'd been known for, you know. So yeah, it was an alternative to Maiden, if you like, definitely.
So Skunkworks was a true alternative to Maiden, to Iron Maiden, yes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And I was just listening to it, and there's some interesting tracks on there. It's been re-released with some bonus material
Yeah,
on Spotify. If anybody's out there and they want to check it out, Spotify, Skunkworks, it's out
it's,
there.
if you can.
What's that?
Please try and avoid Spotify if you can.
Okay.
From a musician's point of view, it pays effectively zero.
Hmm.
So when you guys set up your Skype account and you have to donate a number of dollars each month to Skype, they're just putting that in their pockets. That's not going to musicians. I think the number of UK pence that I get per play on Spotify, it varies for different countries slightly, but it's always 0.00 something of a penny, which would mean I would need thousands of plays to earn like 10 pence, a quarter.
Well, I mean, the way it works, because I dealt with it too. I
Yeah,
only had so many followers. I'm not a big name person yet, but I
right.
would say that on my on the Todd Goldfinger Spotify, I made about maybe $16.
Right. I mean, that's amazing. I don't have my last statement to hand, but I think from my Bruce Dickinson work, my last statement for streaming was around £1.
Mm-hmm.
And £1 won't buy me an ice cream in this heat.
Right.
So
For
it's
the people, yeah.
a lot of use.
For the people watching in America, how much is a pound in US dollars?
I'm not sure. The pound's plummeted recently. I think we're talking about $1.20 or something. You know, they're roughly equal.
Because I remember it was almost like $1.50 at some point. It was almost 2 times as much, the value
And then we
at
voted,
one point. Yeah.
and our currency crashed.
You voted Brexit and the currency crashed?
Yeah, yeah. That's
Interesting.
one of the benefits of Brexit.
So it wasn't a good idea then.
No, it's an insane idea. Anyone will tell you that. But we're going to do
Well,
it.
we need to hear that. We need to hear that from British people.
Well, I mean, I don't know how much people have seen on the news, but basically there was a right-wing campaign to vote Britain out of the European Union, and the campaign was completely based on lies. It's not just me saying that, being biased. Look at all that. They just said loads of things that weren't true. They said exiting the European Union would benefit us, whereas in actual fact, it just means losing all our trading partners. It also means losing royalties for musicians because we have European Union ways of recouping money. It means the end of UK bands touring Europe on a small scale anyway, because we now have work visas and carnets to pay for. And our food's about to get a lot more expensive while our currency crashes and people take their investments out of the country. None of which, of course, was pointed out during the referendum, but now it's all coming true, which is a bit of a shame because I quite liked the music industry.
So you're saying so that the audience understands in very clear text,
Yeah.
because of Brexit, it has actually hurt the music industry, and not just the music industry, but trade and things along these lines.
Trade, hospitals, fishing, farming, car manufacture, everything.
Why are they doing this?
What's that?
Why are they doing this?
Because, like I say, they had a referendum campaign where the right wing said that leaving the European Union would be great for Britain. There would be no downsides. There would only be benefits. And people liked that idea, so they voted for it. Now we found that isn't true. We're still going to go ahead with it anyway.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's an odd one.
I wouldn't say it's that interesting. It's interesting just because people have to understand what the hell's going on there. Because people, what news are you supposed to watch? Because every single news organization is run by either a political party or private interest. Is that not correct?
It is in America. I watch a lot of American TV news, and you can clearly see the different bias between, say, Fox and CNN.
Right.
In Britain, there's laws down about bias. And so it kind of worked against us in a funny way because the BBC, the main broadcasting company here, had to, during the referendum campaign, maintain equal bias. So they weren't allowed to say, this is actually the truth, let's follow it, like, say, CNN would do or Fox would the other way.
Right.
In the UK, they had to present both arguments as balanced. And actually, they weren't balanced arguments because one was lies and the other one was reported fact. And so by the BBC maintaining a balance there, trying not to be biased, they in fact favoured the lies. It's a difficult system to get right on any scale, I guess.
So what news do you watch when you want to get informed? Oh, it's good orange juice. It's good. It's very good to have. Any time in the day, I think, perhaps. So I would say that Skunkworks was not a grunge album, even though you're wearing flannel.
I wasn't wearing flannel, were you?
I saw some flannel. I saw you wearing flannel.
No.
No? Is that a different picture? Maybe it's a guitar player.
You saw the guitar player wearing
Alex Dixon? Alex Dixon was wearing grunge stuff.
Alex Dixon was wearing a tartan shirt. Alex Dixon is Scottish. Scottish people were wearing tartan long before Pearl Jam.
And Kurt Cobain? Really?
I believe the Scottish tartans go back slightly older than Nirvana, yeah.
Okay. Because I thought, all right, okay. We'll back off the grunge thing for now. Okay, that's okay.
Slightly, but Our drummer was also wearing face makeup. coloured makeup, and nobody accused us of sounding like Kiss.
No, but that was only because he had some sort of issues going on at the time, some digestive problems that only allowed him to do that.
That's exactly what happened. Great.
Because he was an Italian drummer. You were in a band. You were in a band with an Italian drummer. Is that not right?
That's absolutely true. Yeah, that's autobiographical, that song.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so getting back to what news you watch.
I don't watch. I don't have a TV. I read a lot of online articles from various sources, and that's how I get my news.
Interesting. Good. I mean, I get my news from Facebook, and memes and things like that,
Yeah, and the thing with memes is, I'm a bit compulsive. I've just got to Google them straight away and find out what the facts are, and then I end up reading a scientific journal's article about how coronavirus is spreading in Brazil or something like that.
Right.
I like to get at the actual articles, the sources of information, because I think it's the same with any news channel on TV. They brush over issues because they've got a 10-minute slot to cover this, and they don't show you the actual source of information. I prefer just to Google it myself.
They also some of them, many of them have an agenda.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah, and I think then when you go to the actual source material and you read what the scientist has actually said at the end of his speech or experiment, that's when you're getting a little bit close to the truth, I think. I hope.
There's a news source called DW News in Germany that I watch sometimes. Sometimes they have some good things, and sometimes Vice News, actually.
Right.
I mean, it's really entertainment, It's really, but the DW News is more. It's a very German approach. It's fact based and
I might try that one. Thanks. Yeah.
I mean, they do have a lot of lesbians on there, but I'm not sure if they're trying to push some sort of issue there. But who knows? We'll see what happens. We'll see how it turns out. Anyway, I have some more questions for you. You played in a band called Tank.
This is true. Yeah.
Tank is a pretty big band. I mean, or like an underground band that's like a cult band almost.
It was a strange one. I mean, they were out in the early '80s. They opened for Metallica on the Ride the Lightning tour over here. They were never actually. They never actually got to that proper big level like Motorhead or Iron Maiden. They were always kind of coming up. And what happened was they reformed in the 2000s, I think about 2008 or something, I think. And their original bass player and singer couldn't do it. So they got me and Doogie White in, who
Doogie White is another name person.
Absolutely, yeah. He'd sung for Michael Schenker and Richie Blackmore's Rainbow and stuff at the time. He's now doing Michael Schenker. And he was a friend of mine from before. So actually, when I heard he was doing it as well, I was super excited to do it. And really, the idea of Tank at first for me was just, it is a classic rock band, as you say. It was just reproducing their songs as best we could for festival audiences in Europe, mainly. But then we started recording our own albums, and it moved on a little bit, becoming a bit less punky, a bit more classic rock. But yeah, I did that for a couple of albums. It was quite fun. We had a good laugh.
Okay, so we got Doogie White, right? Okay, so we got the Doogie White connection.
Yeah.
And then there's the Bruce Dickinson. How did you meet Bruce Dickinson?
That was an audition. It said in Kerrang! Magazine. There was an interview with Bruce in Kerrang! Magazine. He just recorded the Balls to Picasso album with Roy Z and the Tribe of Gypsies, and he was looking for a touring band. And he just mentioned in the interview that he already had Alex Dixon, the guitarist. They already knew each other, and he needed a drummer and a bass player. So I got in touch with Sanctuary Management, and the old cliche, we sent our little cassette in, a little photo and CV, and they called us in for a meeting. Then they called us in for some auditions, and eventually Bruce said, yeah, you're the guys, I'm happy with this. So then we spent 2 years, about 2 years in Bruce's band, touring around, recording stuff.
Sure. And something happened along the way. I mean, first I want to ask you, how many auditions did you have to do?
There was 2. There was a first one.
And then a callback.
And a callback, yeah, exactly, yeah. On the callback, the first one was we had to play songs from the Balls to Picasso album.
Do you remember which ones?
They asked us to learn 4 songs. I think it was Tears of the Dragon, Shoot All the Clowns, something else. But me and Alex Elena, we already knew each other. We were already working together, and we just thought, well, it'd make more sense to learn the whole album. So we learned the whole album and went into Bruce. And of course, he's saying, "All right, which 4 songs have you learned?" We're like, "No, we've done the whole lot if you want, mate." Which I think obviously worked in our favour, showed a bit more confidence. And the second audition was a bit different. He asked us to learn some cover versions. He wanted to jam out and see if we could be a bit flexible as a band rather than just learning an album.
To have a band again where you could be flexible, jam, express ideas, do different creative things, branch out a little bit.
That was it. And also important from Bruce's point of view was jamming around, because Maiden aren't a jamming band. They play the songs in the set list in the correct order, you know?
Yeah.
They don't tend to go off and improvise a lot. And Bruce, being a Deep Purple fan, you know, Deep Purple's the opposite. So he wanted a bit of that in his band. But he also said that, like Maiden, because of the way it was, you know, because they became so massive so quickly.
Right.
And the production and the Eddie and Steve's backline and the massive drum kit and all that, it became, for him, he was saying, kind of inflexible. They really only could play stadiums. They couldn't scale down and do a little club show. And that was one of the things that Bruce missed. And he did say to us that he wanted a band that could be flexible, that could just hop on a plane, play anywhere, go anywhere in the world, halfway up a mountain, and be able to do a gig. Now, at the time, I just thought that was a nice little sentiment and went along with it. But of course, then we found out that his idea of going anywhere to play a gig was a bit more extreme than mine. Hence, we went to Bosnia during the war.
Which leads us to...
Yeah, well, we got a call. There was some British UN personnel out in Bosnia who thought it would be a lovely idea to put a concert on. They got in touch with Bruce's management through Kerrang magazine, I think it was. And Bruce said, yeah, let's go and do it. It must be said that although it was on the news at the time, and I did watch TV news back then, it was on the news, but you know the way the news is, you don't see Syria every single day in the news, but actually there is a war still going on there, you know. You don't see fighting in Afghanistan every day. It's just mentioned when it turns out that Trump knew the Russians were paying for American soldiers to be killed. That was kind of the first reminder that there's still actually conflict going on in these places. And it was a bit similar with Bosnia in the 90s, where when there was a major incident there, that would make the news, or there would be a special report from Sarajevo or something, and then it wouldn't be on the news for 2 or 3 weeks. And the fact that we got invited to play there by the UN and through Bruce's management and everything, we assumed that there must be a ceasefire or it must be reasonably safe. But actually what happened is we went on into a full-on active war zone with artillery fire and machine guns in the background and stuff. And it was a bit more than we'd expected, you know.
So people should watch the film then.
Yeah, absolutely. The film is amazing because, I mean, that experience, you know, it's a very unique thing. There's not many of us outside of, you know, servicemen and women who've actually seen a war zone. It's quite a shocking thing to see close up, I must say. You know, TV looks a bit shocking, but close up, meeting the people and that, is a bit more shocking. And I found it very hard when we got back to express that to people and explain to people back home, you know, friends and that, like exactly what was going on there. I couldn't put it across. They couldn't understand it. And one of the things that happened with the film, you know, many years later, all these years later, is that finally we could tell the story and people now understand. And people like yourself all over the world can actually start to get an idea of,
understand what the hell was going on, even if it's not clear what was going on. People should definitely see this film, which is called
Scream for Me, Sarajevo.
We're gonna put it up there so people can see it. Is there a website that people can go to?
It's screamformesarajevo.com. Nice and easy. And at screamformesarajevo.com, you've got streaming options. You can buy DVD, Blu-ray, etc., etc. But yeah, I highly recommend it because it came out as, you know, it started as a little story about us as a band going over there, but the way it came out in the end, as you saw yourself, was really a story of the Bosnian people, and also the story of like human nature and how people survive in times of extreme crisis. And one of the things that I think is great about the film is, of course, they're interviewing the fans who were at the gig, you know, Bosnian kids who were living under a siege, teenagers, heavy metal fans. And so we're seeing it from the aspect of a teenage heavy metal fan. And of course, me and you, we've all been teenage heavy metal fans. And so you can really relate to it because you're going, oh my God, that's what I was doing when I was a teenager too, except they're doing it under shell fire.
In a different part of the world.
Yeah, because I do think it's difficult when you see like wars in Africa. It's difficult to relate to those people and what's going through their heads. But teenage heavy metal fans, that's, yeah, teenage heavy metal fans under duress. We should have called it that, actually.
That'll be the underneath it. It'll be like
Yeah.
AKA, otherwise known as
Teenagers under distress. Duress.
duress. Right. The film was made under duress.
The film was made in a great way. No, there was no duress.
Okay.
That was one of the great things, of course, because, you know, my memories of Sarajevo, I hadn't been back there since. My memories of Sarajevo, quite honestly, were a dark city with no street lights on, very few people out in the streets day or night. People enjoying themselves in a crazy kind of way with a black, dark sense of humor. But obviously a pretty horrific place to be. And to go back there and film, you know, it is actually a beautiful city, and now it's all open and people are out in the streets. There's a lovely old market there, old town, restaurants, bars. Oh, it's amazing to see now. So that was good for me as well, you know, because it cleared up a load of bad memories, I think.
Yeah, and how did the movie get made? Because I believe that you actually helped the ball get rolling.
Well, yeah, I'd written some articles on a website called Metal Talk, metaltalk.net, which was my story of Sarajevo. I did those in 2012, I think. I was writing for the website in general, writing all sorts of heavy metal articles, and I wrote that story, and it took off really well. But then we got emails in from Bosnians who'd been at the gig, and that was the key spark to it. And then a guy called Jasenko Pasic got in touch with me, another Bosnian guy, and he works in the theatre, and he said, this is a great idea, we should do a documentary. And yeah, we just went for it. Then we started getting in touch with Alex Elena, the drummer. We got in touch with a few of the UN guys. Jasenko got in touch with a load of Bosnians who were at the gig, found us a great director, Tarek Hodges, great producer, Adnan Chara. And so he got all the professional side. Meanwhile, in London, we managed to find a couple of the old UN guys that were out there with us. And of course, we got in touch with Bruce and asked him to be involved. And we also managed to find, and it sounds completely fairy story, but we found a bit of footage from the gig, literally in the attic of a British UN officer, Martin Morris. He said, oh, I might have a video of that in the attic, which just completed the film beautifully.
Major Morris.
Yeah.
Major Morris is in the film. He
Yeah,
plays
yeah.
a very big role, actually.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, he was absolutely key to it. He was one of the main organisers for the concert. Yeah. And again, you know, he's a British Army officer, but you know, there's a lot of shows that people do. They go out to war zones and they play for the troops, which is all very good. But that wasn't what Major Morris wanted. He wanted us to play for the Bosnians, for the actual people who were suffering in the war. I would have felt a bit bad, actually, if we'd gone out and played to half a dozen British soldiers and come home again, you know, while
Right.
in the suffering. But yeah, that was all him doing that. I think him and Trevor Gibson, they were the main protagonists behind that show.
Nice, very nice, lovely to hear. You wrote something. You wrote actually something called "Scream for Me Sarajevo" on a website.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. And then we started making the film, and we thought that's a pretty good title. We'll keep it, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and you came up with that, right?
That's me. Well, obviously, initially Bruce said it.
Initially it was Bruce, but yeah, it was a good thing to do. It was a very good thing to do, and you played in a band with an Italian drummer, which is also important to know because I would like to talk to that Italian drummer one of these days.
Oh,
Um,
be arranged.
that would be amazing. That would be great too. Okay, and then so have we put it into a nice package for Scream for Me Sarajevo? Have we said everything that we wanted to say about it before we
I
move on
think-
to the next subject?
Yeah, yeah. Let's do it.
So the next subject, of course, is one of my all-time favorites. I got to say, a guy that I feel like I can just talk to for hours, Ricky Gervais.
Right.
I didn't wear the V-neck today. I went with Celine Dion.
I like it. I like it.
My heart will go on. Says a nice pentagram.
Very good. But yeah, Ricky Gervais. That was a funny one. Like I said, I'm from a little village in Wales. A friend of mine from my old school in Wales happened to be producing some music for The Office, for the UK version, for Ricky, and because we're still friends, he asked me to come and play bass on it. So yeah, I played on a song called "Free Love on the Free Love Highway."
That's a lot of free love.
I'd say it was it's a funny one in the studio. Obviously, I'm used to recording with rock bands mainly, so there I was in BBC studios. And it's all quite quite posh, and we've got to be well behaved and stuff. And I was trying to record bass, and Ricky had put down a guide vocal of roughly where things were going. But honestly, it was just distracting because it was hilarious. You listen to Ricky Gervais's voice and you just start laughing.
Right.
Concentrate on playing bass in time along to the drums, you know. And instead, there's this idiot waffling away about cowboys and stuff. And I'm like, no, just turn him off. I need to play bass properly.
I gotta look that up. Is this on the internet? Can we find this song that you did with him?
Yeah. Free Love on the Free Love Highway.
Free Love on the Free Love Highway. You can look it up on YouTube.
Yeah, and I think I think Noel Gallagher does backing vocals on it from Oasis.
What? Wait, is Noel Gallagher the guy that Sacha Baron Cohen was making fun of in the Brothers Grimsby? Or was it the other brother? Which one was he? 'Cause you ever see the Brothers Grimsby? I love it. I'm a big Sacha. I know you don't like Benny Hill. We're not going to talk about Benny Hill today or Faulty Towers. But we will maybe Alan Partridge. Coconut. What was he say in the movie? Coconut. He's looking at the breasts.
I skipped it.
And he says coconut.
No, I think I'm not sure which way around the Gallagher brothers are. It's the relatively normal one, isn't he? And Liam's the slightly more mad one. I think we have Noel on.
They would call him the one that would be there's a British term called chav. Is like some sort of like a lower class kind of do people say that?
Yeah. To be honest, they're from Manchester. I associate chavs with being from the south more. I might be wrong. I'm not up to date on modern insulting.
You're not hanging out with these types of people.
I'm not down with the kids.
You're hanging out with you're hanging out with Richard Gervais, you're hanging out with Bruce Dickinson, and you're also doing bass tech for Billy Sheehan in your spare time.
Yeah, but actually, no, I'm locked in my flat in lockdown.
Oh,
but,
okay. Yeah. Well, we can all dream, can't we?
Absolutely.
Well, hi into that.
Cheers,
mate.
So yeah, did a little bit of the Ricky Gervais stuff. You know, it was just a couple of evenings sessions in the studio. I did that bit for The Office, and then they called me in for extras. There's a little theme tune, When the Whistle Blows, and they just wanted me to put some bass on that. When I did it that time, Ricky was in the studio as well. That's the only time I met him. Absolutely lovely guy, as you would expect. Very funny. We just had a good laugh. And
do you remember? Yeah. Do you remember if he was wearing a V-neck when you saw him?
I concentrate less on t-shirt collars than you, I think.
I'm very much about like visual aesthetics. You know,
See
looks.
it,
You know, when I date a woman, she has to be like a perfect knockout, you know, like beyond a 10, because I feel so insecure about myself that I need to have at least 2 trophy girlfriends around my arms. I need that for my own
Oh,
emotional stability.
okay. Well, I'd just like to wish
And
you
it's also Benny Hill. It's because of Benny Hill, actually.
all the best with that particular quest.
And what I do is I actually pat them on the head. I pat them both on the head.
I'm going Benny Hill now. We're straying a bit now.
I listen. I'm not tapping them on the fanny. That's for later. That's after a few drinks, and then the tapping on the fanny. But we're not doing that.
I've got to just interrupt you there. There's a slight problem with American English and UK English, right?
Fanny is if I can't say the word fanny. What's that? What is
Well,
it?
the thing is, a woman's fanny in
Mhm.
UK English is on the front.
I'm not gonna. I don't want to get too. It's not. I'm not gonna even go further into this. 'Cause I'll get into so much trouble if I'm even gonna say the thing that I'm.
You guys have a pussy here, right?
That's the back.
That's a fanny to you.
That's the back.
But when
That's the front.
a woman's fanny is in UK.
Oh, so it's like another word that we would have in English, but they use it in British English very often if somebody is effeminate or if they're just sort of like they call them uh, this word, which it starts with it's 4 letters and it starts with a C, and it's more commonly used in the British English.
It's not really for a pussy. That's for someone who's really not being a nice guy.
I think last time I might have been I mean I would think I was being a nice guy, but I wasn't one of those, right? As long as I wasn't one of those.
No, you weren't one of those. Don't you worry about that. There would be no second call if you were one of those.
Thank you. So people are tuning in. This is the second episode with Chris Dale because I want Chris Dale to watch the first one with a fine-tooth comb and actually like step back a little bit from it, you know, and then see, because I think there's some really good moments. If there's something you really want taken out of it, we will take it out.
I'll check it out. Yeah, but you know, why not do 2 takes anyway?
Why not? It's like Alive in Studio B.
Well, I must say, even Alive in Studio A is alive in the studio, but we did more than 1 take of each song. Just makes sense, doesn't it?
This is a little bit like what you were doing with Bruce Dickinson. This is amazing. Soon we're gonna be flying in planes and drinking champagne in the jacuzzi with two lovely, and I'll be just doing a little head tap, little head tap, and then everyone chasing everyone for the next, you know.
I must say, the jacuzzi idea sounds great right now, but the rest of it, not so much, you know.
We don't need champagne, but what? Listen, you know what it'll be? Ricky Gervais and Bruce or Billy Sheehan. We'll find out, and I'll be hanging out with them in the. I don't know if they're gonna come into the jacuzzi with me. I don't think they're gonna do that.
This, like, Bruce is a bit shorter than me. Billy's a fair bit taller than me.
Yeah.
It wouldn't look so good. Let's not do that session.
Let's not. Okay. What I need to do is throw it out there because we never know. Yeah.
We can level them up in Photoshop, can't we?
We certainly can. We certainly can. And I'm not the tallest guy either. I'm only 5'6". I don't know what that is in centimeters or.
But I've got a measuring tape.
Yeah.
Can
you measure me?
3 foot. Hang on. Dead air. I know it's no good, is it? 5 foot.
5'6".
5 foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that's
110.
168 centimeters.
168.
Yeah, that's good. It's good.
It's
man.
Okay. I actually took growth hormones when I was a child.
It sounds.
It's not a joke.
Meters though, doesn't it? 168. You're kind of
168. Winning. You know, I would. You know what I was? If it was a piece of paper, I might write 167.
You could easily get away with it.
I would bump it up just 1.
I mean, I can't see you standing from here, but I would go for that straight away.
Thank you for that. It feels good. It feels good. I want to make sure that we talked about okay, we talked about Brexit. We talked about how the film get made. We talked about Doogie White. We talked about Alive in Studio A a little bit.
Yeah.
The experimentation of the Skunkworks album, which is a very interesting album to check out.
Yeah.
And we talked about Sarajevo, the film. Yeah.
On this topic of Skunkworks,
Yeah.
I'm at the moment, as I know you know, because I invited you in there. We've got a Skunkworks Facebook group.
I love it.
So if anybody out there likes Skunkworks, come on into that, because it's some of us and some of the crew and the producer. We're all just chatting with fans, and it's a
Cool, cool. That's a lot of fun. How can people find it?
What else hadn't we? Sorry, what? How do they find it?
Yeah, how do they find it?
I think just go to Facebook and search Skunkworks in groups.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I think the actual group title is probably. Hang on. Yeah, when I get the URL up, it's a series of numbers. If somebody wants to take down, it's group number 475-767-549944-358. You got it, kids.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you, Chris Dale. Did you have anything else that you wanted to tell the audience about the environment or the state of the world or anything like that?
Oh, God, no. It's tragic, isn't it, at the moment?
It is.
UK and US.
Not just we got a lot of countries with right-wing power, you know, in command, and it's not looking good.
It's not, is it?
It's not looking good for musicians, artists, and sensitive people.
This is true, yeah. Or the normal working man who actually wants to get some value for his tax dollars, you know?
Right.
Still, there's a sad note to end on, isn't it?
Well, I would say that maybe they want to get some Valium for their tax dollars.
Ooh.
You see how I turned it around? I made it about drugs. Go home, do your drugs. That's what Ricky Gervais said at the Emmys. He's at the Oscars. He's like, go home, do your drugs. He said it to everybody. He says, nobody gives a shit about you. You're just Hollywood, or whatever he said. I don't know what he said, but I love Ricky. I love Ricky Gervais.
He's a funny guy, I must say.
He's a funny guy, and I want to thank you so much, Chris Dale. I know we went over the 30-minute mark, but I want to thank you for being here today and sharing your story with the audience of Comcast 21 and YouTube channel Todd Goldfinger. A lot of metal. You know what? I if you had this, I would say now I'm gonna do this. Now after this interview, I'm not gonna be smoking copious amounts of weed like I usually do. What I'm gonna be doing is this.
Working out. Grip master.
One hand and then the other hand, right? One hand washes the other. Just like that. Check that out.
You got it.
It's showbiz. It's showbiz.
Are you sponsored by them or something?
This is the Gripmaster, and we are not sponsored by them, but we are trying to get a sponsorship with Gripmaster products because I like everything they do because they also have it for the hands, but they also have it for something called the fanny. I don't know what that is. Maybe we'll get into that later.
Well, problem. So can I just mention that my
fanny master
tape measure?
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's a Black Spur tape measure, guys. Mm-hmm. Get your best metal tape measures from Black Spur. Can that go in? Can that go in?
That was good. That was a good plug. Very good plug. Very good plug.
Good.
So, I'm glad for it. I'm so happy that you were able to spend this time with me today, that we could get down to serious business.
Absolutely.
And talk about the issues at hand. And if there's anything else you want more to say, I will give you this time.
I'm pretty good. I don't know. We talked about films. I name dropped. I like name dropping. I did that a bit, didn't I?
Yeah. Name dropping is good, but I would say asking a bass player to speak their mind. They say, well, I have to ask the drummer first, and the singer, and the guitar player. What am I? About where I should stand in the corner, and what notes I should play with a pick. How I should play it more like the guitar player wrote it. Come on, man. Maybe the guitar player should play the bass lines.
No, I'm the fucking bass player. I'm gonna.
Maybe the guitar player should start playing all the bass lines from now on. That's where the world's headed. I'm telling you.
The world's headed for crisis.
We
You're
need to
right.
make a change because all the guitar players are going to be playing all the bass lines on all the albums because they think because they know the neck that they can play bass. No, that's not true. Bass is much different. Bass is so much different. I don't know how to play it. What's it? What's that song? It's one of your songs, isn't it? Anyway, I want to say thank you so much, Ricky Gervais. You're the best. Billy Sheehan will be next time, and have a great day. Enjoy yourself. Have the orange juice like everybody should, and be well to yourself and everyone out there, even if you don't like them.
Thanks very much.
Love you, man. Cheers.
I'll
Bass
catch
on.
you.